This is a big one, because technically it's still going on, and there's only so much I can say, and I'll actually come out with an entire thing regarding this probably. Um, so I had basically $60,000 worth of product, or money just stolen from me, from my supplier in the legal business world. Um, that's what we're. Don't worry about it. We're pursuing it. It's all gravy. It's all fucking gravy. It's all gravy. Um, I'm gonna just I'm gonna skip straight to the fucking lessons because I'll tell the story later. But I will say that right off the bat, most of those good people that do bad things, um, it's a lot of times it's because the good has just blinded the bad from people, so that for some reason people they fuck. Even before I was trying to say, don't judge somebody by the one thing. Look, if somebody repeatedly fucking steals, they're probably a thief. That's really all I can say. This bitch fucking stole so much goddamn money from so many people over so many fucking years, but was federally protected. And so I'll just leave that there. And again, this was my fucking supplier. Um, it's crazy, dude. It's fucking nuts. But I'll tell that story when shit goes down. Because that's a oh fuck. Sorry, that's alarm out there. Anyways, but just to get to the fucking lessons, when you're dealing with somebody, use Facebook, especially Facebook groups. Um, Become part of the industry groups, especially if they have blacklist groups or bounce check groups or this or that. And if they don't have one, create one. So I've created a blacklist group on Facebook that helped me double check a potential customer that right now there's issues of them stealing stuff, and using, excuse me, using other people's or the customers' credit cards to like buy fucking lunch or buy this or that stuff that it's like I just don't want to be involved with petty shit like that. I don't care if they're able to sell fucking weight. It's just I don't want to be involved with that because turns out dude might have like three names also, just like this other bitch who fucking stole 60 grand from me, who's gone by like three, four, five names. um, but Google their fucking names, Facebook group their names, Google their fucking phone numbers. If they have if they're on Better Business Bureau, check that shit. um, just do your due diligence. Some of the stuff you can do just to verify addresses, I mean, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, you can check Secretary of State. Make sure that everything that they're telling you lines up. If there's some weird shit, ask them about it. There was a lot of stuff within my suppliers and our relationship that it the money I was making was worth the frustration, and it's to this day, even including the loss of 60 grand, it was still worth it. It was still worth it. I was doing really fucking well, but you just have to deal with it and understand what you're dealing with. The other thing is get contracts. Unfortunately, a lot of stuff like, okay, so you can download a phone call saving app where every fucking phone call, I think it's like ACR, I think that's the name of it. You can download that. That'll record every conversation that you have on your phone, and it gives you an option to save it or not save it. Um, that isn't like, you can't legally use that, I guess, in some states. With some phone conversations in Texas you can, but it just depends on where you are. But I know a lot of people do, or they have their correspondence via phone calls or in person. Um, Try to make sure to have those larger conversations via email, or if you have to text, but something, or just make sure that it's recorded, in some way. And again, especially with the contracts, that's obviously a recorded deal that you guys are making. So get that shit. Um, when it comes to accepting orders and shit like that, make sure I don't like make sure you get your purchase order first. I know a lot of people, including myself, we've just, oh yeah, okay, what do you want? All right, click. Let me send you an invoice. Boom. No purchase order. A purchase order is a legally binding agreement. The only time I've had people send me purchase orders have been when they're spending 50, 100, 200K with me, and then yeah, it's purchase order time because legally binding document. But for small stuff, nobody sent me anything. But at the same time, you've also taken little losses here and there. So try to get a purchase order. Try to make sure that's part of it. I gotta say, from being the customer, it's a pain in the ass when I have to, like, normally I just send an email to, let's just say this supplier of this or this. Some of them make me do a purchase order, and it's just annoying. But it saves everybody. It makes sure that, if they produce an order, if you produce an order for somebody else and they decide they don't want it and it costs you a bunch of money, they're held liable for that. I've unfortunately had to throw away a bunch of pallets of product because, well, for multiple reasons, but one of them being the DEA was getting involved with a bunch of shit, and that actually turned out to never happen. So we ended up throwing a bunch of product away that we never had to throw away. But also the main reason we had to throw it away as well is because the customer we made it for never paid us. So I lost money on that, and because the DEA never really got involved with that shit, I lost it twofold, kind of. So make sure you get purchase orders. Unfortunately, that wasn't on a purchase order either. That was just an agreement, invoice type of thing. When you're making all your payments, whether I know receipts and shit, but put the fucking invoice number on there, especially on wire transfers. Like, so this bitch that stole a bunch of money from me, and I'm calling her a bitch because she's a bitch, and it's a girl. Like, some of the fucking examples that I was given from other people around her is that, some of the excuses that might be made are things like a wedding gift, sorry. The fact that people will make up stuff just to try to justify their theft that's so ridiculous that most people wouldn't, I guess, accept it as truth. It's nuts, but people get away with it somehow. I don't know how, but they do. So like, the 60 grand that I spent on the order, that was potentially like she was gonna say, well, he gave it to me as a wedding gift, and that's, I guess, where all that was going. But the last thing, and all this shit. So like, while all this was going on, I had this gut feeling the whole time that this was just bullshit. I couldn't prove it at the time because I didn't have any information, and it took me months to acquire all of it. Because I had to find it and search for it and get it all. But the whole time I thought that there was just something wrong and she was lying to me. And so I just kind of like put everything on the back burner, and even there was a moment where I actually was like, it's not worth going after. Because every time I thought about it, I had hopes of getting my money back. But every time she had zero news for me, it crushed me emotionally. It's like, oh, fuck, I don't have that money back. This hurts me. And, I still don't have that money back, but it was just that last time where I was like, all right, let me pursue it one more time. Let me see if there's anything else I can do to try to get my money back. And it was at that point where I went back and I started reaching out to one other person, the person who introduced us, and that's when everything fucking blew open. So definitely trust your gut through all this shit. Like, I had another person recently that contacted me that was basically very similar, multiple names supposedly and all this shit, and I don't know if it's true, but as I told him, it's nothing against, I mean, I guess it is technically all against him, But it's, I can't afford the loss, so I can't afford to take the risk. Um, and I guess for me, afford, and I learned this from my dad. Um, People use the word afford differently, and that's the problem. Is I guess when people try to justify one person taking a risk and compare it to their own risk taking, to afford something should not mean like you can pay for it. So like if something costs 10 grand and you only have 10 grand in your bank account, that doesn't mean you can afford it. That means you'll go broke over it. um, to afford something is basically for you to have the extra income to pay for it and it not affect you at all. So like if you had billions of dollars and something cost you $1 million, that ain't shit. That ain't nothing. But if you got 2 million and it costs you $1 million, I mean you still got $1 million, but that's still 50% of your money, and it depends what you do with that money and how you make money. You know, is that money that's saved, or is that, do you use your money to make more money? You tying up your cash flow. But anyways, so one of the last things that for me, I guess, like I've been snitched on and shit, and I'm not gonna get into that because I'm not gonna, whatever. It's another fucking story. But one of the things I learned, especially, and that one actually I learned this in jail. And this was just, I don't know too many people that have kind of come that far, but how do you forgive people for stealing from you? How do you forgive somebody for snitching on you? How do you forgive people for fucking you over, for hustling you, for taking your kindness for weakness, or for fucking your generosity over forever, or whatever? Well, how do you do it, or how do I do it? How do I do it? I do it because I understand that no matter what the fuck is going on for them in their life, that's the best, I guess, alternative, or that's the best choice for them, period. Even though to us it may not seem like it. And so, like, all right, I know I might be losing some people. Even though you could say, all right, for some person, to steal or not to steal. Well, don't fucking steal. You can just go out there and work, blah, blah, blah. Imagine somebody's life where they are so brainwashed that, and you gotta remember, everybody's brainwashed. They are so brainwashed into believing that they can't work hard, or that nobody will hire them, or that them achieving more or growing as a person is so pointless that the only option for them is to steal. It may not make sense to you, but if it doesn't, that's just because you're not there yet. But for some reason, people, it's the best option for somebody. They don't have, I don't know, the personal motivation. They don't have the ability to face whatever's there. I don't know. Unfortunately, I've been the victim many, many, many times. I've been stolen from quite a bit, and the only thing I continue to say is, I'm just thankful to have plenty, I guess, in that sense, at each individual moment to steal from, even though I don't really have shit. Like, every time I get robbed, it's like, okay, I'm back to broke now. But every time I've been robbed, I've always, tripled at least. And, that's just what it is. This specific money that was stolen shut down my entire business because I was diversified, and that was kind of how things were set up. And that was earning me income on that end, and so that was funding other things, and that shut that down, and so all my income went to zero. And that's pretty difficult to forgive, and part of me still doesn't. But at the same time, I know that that woman, like, her self-esteem is so fucking low, and she feels like she actually can't do, I guess, enough for herself on her own, that she needs other people to use as a leg up, and that's the crazy thing, is it's like, when you think about it, it's like, damn, so I'm sturdy enough to be a leg. Huh. And you kind of start complimenting yourself. Well, like, damn, all right, so if somebody else sees me like that, well, then, okay, maybe you are like that. It's weird to kind of think about. It's very strange. Even for somebody to snitch on you. You know, all I can say is, I mean, maybe you want to be around your, maybe you want to be around his kids more. I don't fucking know, man. Maybe you want to be around your, I don't know, what the fuck. I got no idea. I'm just saying, be open-minded about shit. I know it's difficult to forgive people, especially when they fucking ruined your entire life and they thought that their life was more important than fucking your life. Trust me, I've been down this fucking road. But not forgiving them does nothing for me. Forgiving them not only lets me move that bitch to the side and me keep fucking moving forward, but it also gives me an opportunity to grow, because in order to forgive them, I have to open my mind and grow emotionally. And that's the thing, is right now that people forget, like in business, you have your IQ and your EQ, and learning how to not allow emotions to get the better of you in business is a problem that a lot of business people have. And it happens. It's like, don't get attached to a deal, don't get attached to a product. Well, when you take losses, don't get attached to the loss, don't get attached to the person. Forgive them for, just, but in a weird way, if you try to feel bad for them, it almost helps you forgive them, because you kind of realize, like, damn, like, the worse the act, like, the shittier of a person they must really be. And I guess that's the way that I forgive them, is the more harm they do, the shittier of a person they are, and the more alone they must feel. At the same time, you kind of start to look back, or almost look at your present life and see, look around you and see if there's anybody that kind of resembles that person in any way that you might be able to help them presently, and hopefully, make sure they don't become that person. There's not a lot of ways to stop people from hustling you. But I think if you can at least tell your stories and teach the lessons that you've learned, and try to help people learn those lessons themselves, I think that's really the best way to do that. So with that, this is the end of How to Start a Cannabis Farm, How Not to Get Hustled. Thanks for listening.